Super excited to have you on the podcast today. How are you?
Doing great, and thank you for having me. I was looking forward to this conversation as well, Jared.
Let's dive right in then. First off, I like whenever someone comes on for the first time, tell the audience a little bit about yourself and then kind of lead that into Track3D for those that are just getting to know the company.
Absolutely, Jared. So I go by NK, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company, Track3D. We started Track3D more than about 3 years ago. But personally, by way of my background, I've been in the world of startups and doing cutting edge technology for over the last 17 years now. The intersection of 3D vision, AI, robotics, IoT, and extended reality is what's been super exciting for me. And applying these to solve real world problems. Like I started out way back in 2008 9, and we started applying these technologies in the medical domain, like 3D scanning people, putting them in virtual worlds, helping them neuro rehabilitate. It started with that to, we built a lot of cool gadgets. We built the world's first gesture control smartwatch, a smartwatch that could control drones, robotics. We created a furniture augmented reality company, scan furniture and put them in virtual spaces. To our last startup, which was actually in the smart city space. So we were creating digital replicas of entire cities. And that's how we got introduced into a world of construction, because cities do a lot of construction, and they asked us, hey, can you help us monitor what is happening on the job sites actually. So that led us to a very interesting revelation that, wow, there's so much benefit to applying these cutting edge technologies, making it extremely simple for a job site. So we pivoted from there because that was about the time when COVID happened, the city's budgets got reprioritized. But that gave us a unique sense in what is happening in construction industry all across the globe. So that's when, that led to the genesis of Track 3D and what we are doing today.
And how have things evolved since starting the company? Obviously, you had this initial idea, it was brought to you kind of throughout. All these different things had to come into play for you to eventually start Track3D. Talk me through what the company looks like today, how it's evolved since you started it.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, the evolution of Track 3D, I would say, started 17 years back. So that's when we were 3D scanning people with custom built hardware. Like we had to build our own time of flight hardware at that point of time. So from there to now, where you have hardware devices accessible, producing super quality data at very affordable prices, right? You get a 360 camera for what, $400. In fact, the devices in your pocket right now have become extremely powerful. They have lidar sensors built in the pro versions. So I think over the longer spectrum of time also things have evolved a lot, lot different ways. But when you look at the short term horizon, right, like the last 3 years, I would say everything has changed. Like what was not possible, or very tough problems to solve, like segmentation, identifying objects, training new varieties of objects, like all of this have now become simple. And I think that has led to actually evolution of Track 3D. I'll give you some of the smallest things that we actually changed from or pivoted from the time we started. Like Track 3D, just to give you a background, is an AI first construction monitoring solution. So we quantify and qualify everything that is installed on site. And we do that through any practical camera. It could be a drone, it could be a 360 camera, mobile phone, laser scanner, LiDAR, doesn't matter. So we take in data from any visual data source, combine it together, and tell you what has been done, when it has been done, where it has been done, and how much has it been done. And finally, we are now also telling you, has it been done to the right specifications or not as well. Now, initially when we started this, right, we started with the niche thing that, hey, let's do this with BIM as an input. So building information model was a required input when we started. And we said anything, we'll compare the BIM to the reality that we are capturing, and we'll actually derive our insights out of that. And that has been the single biggest change that, Track 3D has evolved to. Now in its current shape and form, we don't require the BIM. In fact, we don't even require a drawing. If we see it, we can track it, is what we can say. And that's our unique value proposition. So capture it with anything. Our system will automatically quantify it, measure it, and tell you how much of it has been installed. So that, I would say, was almost impossible to do 3 years back.
Like, okay, impossible 3 years back. A big part of that is probably due to AI and how much the technology has evolved. Can you talk a little bit more about AI's role in this? I know you mentioned it a little bit, but would love to dig deeper.
100%, Jared. And I'll give you a small example, right? So that will make it super easy. Typical machine learning models, what you need to do them, and I'll give you a very, very simple example. You identify a cat or a dog in an image. What you would typically need to do is take thousands of cat dog images, label them manually and painstakingly label them. These are cats, these are dogs. Then build out a model. In fact, you would need thousand is a understatement. You would need millions of images to bring out a good, accurate model. Then your AI engine or your machine learning model would churn out a model which you could actually identify, give an image, and say whether it's a dog or a cat. And then if you give it a tiger, it will call it a cat or a dog randomly, right? That was the state almost even 5 years back. Now, so what this meant was you needed a lot of people to manually laboriously label stuff, create a model which was usable for the hundreds and hundreds of elements that we are typically tracking on a job site. This was even more cumbersome, and that made the solutions also quite expensive, right? This is a lot of manual work involved. Now AI, you give it an image, no training required, ask for an object. And it could be any object, right? It need not even be an object connected to a construction progress that you're tracking. It could be a safety cone on site. It could be a pipe randomly laying somewhere. And our customers have asked us to track weird objects that we didn't even think of. Okay, this might be a use case for that. So AI has now enabled everything to be zero shot in technical terms. So you can now track a wide variety of objects without requiring prior training and making all these insights accessible. So that has been a huge step change.
The accessibility to now just also be able to, I mean, honestly, it's not just AI, right? It's advancements in where phones and their cameras have gotten, but AI kind of helps paste everything together, right? And even take it up another level. Um, what do you think the next wave looks like? Obviously, like you said, a lot of this wasn't possible even 3 years ago. What could we look back on 3 years from now and be like, wow, I can't believe we were even doing it that way?
One of the few things that we are super excited about the way world is evolving as such is again AI in the physical world. Like the simplest example could be robotics, right? Now robotics will become accessible. They will become like super economically feasible to deploy it on every job site. And I think we are not too far away from that actually. And what these robots could be doing is, not only doing passively collecting data on a day-to-day basis, which no one likes to do, right? But now you have a lot of data being collected, and this data is actually automatically being converted into insights on a near real-time basis. So you're not telling, hey, you installed a duct in the wrong place 30 days later, right? You're telling right when the hanger was placed, the system is actually detecting that and telling, hey, you did put it on the wrong place. So that
Interesting.
will be a step change. And robotics, already we are seeing things going live where they're autonomously actually transversing the job sites. Drones have been doing it for quite some time, but even the robo dogs or wheeled robots, I think the future looks super promising.
Let's talk about what needs to change and what maybe still worries you today that, okay, this could be a blocker that's holding the space back. Is there anything that worries you today in turn? That could be regulatory, that could be just maybe you wanted to see even more advancement of the technology. Anything that maybe worries you today also?
Well, one thing what I saw was, when we entered the construction industry about 8 years back, uh, everyone told me that, hey, construction industry is a laggard in adopting technology. But when our experience has not been that, like we see these guys are really tech forward, but they need technology that works, technology that makes their life simple, not that they have to work, learn this technology, do some complicated coding around it so that it can create a difference. So the change I like to be there is, people are now a lot more open, a lot more adaptable. But it's on us, I think, all the technology providers, to make it simple enough that it seamlessly fits into their workflows. So we should not ask the job site people to do more work just to make our software usable to them. That's so counterintuitive, right? It should be like, we seamlessly fit into their workflows and processes. And how we actually minimize the job they're doing. That is the sole purpose of AI, if you think of it. So I think if at all there has to be any change, the change has to be in all our technology providers' minds, actually, in the way we are building stuff. Understand the field better. Be field first is what I say, because only if you show value on the field, you'll see value across the entire construction supply chain, across all stakeholders, right from trade partners, general contractors to owners.
So, what excites you about the future opportunity then? Kind of to reverse the question, what excites you moving forward?
Excitement is because, again, this is possible right now. Like with Track 3D, we are seeing it, but it's showing applicability over a wide variety in the entire industry. What I mean by that is, take a small retail store to a large data center and hospital. These technologies have now become accessible to create a difference in the way you're building projects. This was not possible before, right? If you talk about reality capture as a technology, you would see the adoption on field to be on that high data centers, the really large mission critical projects like airports and hospitals. But what excites me is, this technology is already now accessible to every small. The smallest project that we have done is a home renovation project. It was a $200,000 project where the customer saw value, and we were like so excited by that, because now we believe that, this is there. So that becoming mainstream and unlocking value is, what I'm excited about the most.
So, you think we'll see more smaller projects adopt this type of technology then as well? And
Yes.
is that because the cost will the cost go down over time, or will or I mean, I guess depending on the use case.
It's both. It's one thing is, the technology cost has already gone down, and it will be is much more palatable. But more than that, the value that you're getting out of this data, right? Think about it. You buy a car, every screw that has gone into that car. You almost have everything labeled, everything documented, because it comes out of manufacturing line. But homes, buildings, data centers, airports, like these are like really large scale assets where you almost don't have reliable data on them. The as builds that you talk about, are they truly as builds? It's highly debatable, right? But having the entire life cycle data of the job site and indexed and searchable, that I think so will create a huge difference, and it's applicable for every project of every shape and size.
What where can people learn more?
Yeah, so you can learn about Track 3D at www.track3d.ai. That is our website basically. And you can also follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, as well as me personally on LinkedIn as well. Would be always happy to connect. I'm in fact taking this call from one of our customers' offices right now. So be on site, have as many conversations as possible. I'm very open to that.
And ideally, who? I mean, I'm sure you're open to a bunch of different people reaching out, but ideally, like when you think of your stakeholders, right? If anyone's listening and is interested, who are those typically?
We have started working with general contractors to start with. That was our target audience. But now we are seeing the value percolate to trade partners as well as owners who are directly engaging with us. Each one has a different value proposition, and we see our technology is simple enough to cater to that. Again, we are an AI first company, so it's not about we you have to learn to work our software. It's about, our software seamlessly fits into your existing workflows. So anyone connected to the construction ecosystem, it could also be engineering firms, architects, anyone. We are happy to talk, exchange ideas. We might need not even work together as a customer, but there's so much to learn and interchange ideas on, right? We are always open to that.
Well, I want to thank you so much for hopping on a quick episode, telling us more about Track 3D. Look forward to staying in touch and kind of following along with the journey. But thank you so much for joining me here today.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Jared. This was a lot of fun.